and welcome to episode 26 of A Slice of Pie podcast, where we talk about all the great people in Pawleys Island, Murrells Inlet, and Georgetown. My name is Kat Loftus, and thank you so much for joining us. Ooh, it's chilly here on the coast right now. It's a little cool outside, lots of wind, but it's not as cold as it is at some of those NFL playoff games where it's below zero. That is really cold. And not as cold as Nashville, Tennessee, where my husband will be working next week. So we're still a little bit warmer than a lot of places. And it's not too cold to get outside, especially if you bundle up a little bit. So we don't have a whole lot to complain about. But I sure will be glad when that warm weather comes back in March. Anyway, this week, we're still in January, and we are still talking about fitness. And I have a good friend on our podcast this week. His name is Keith Brown. And Keith Brown is originally from Greenville, South Carolina, and that's where I got to know him first. Keith went to Eastside High School, where I went to high school, and Keith and my older brother, Mike, played basketball together. Keith was a little bit older than Mike, but they both played for the Eastside Eagles varsity basketball team. I got to play for the Eastside Eagles varsity basketball team, girls, though. And so when I moved down here to the coast and I was teaching school, this was, when I was in my late 20s, I was teaching at Kensington Elementary, and Keith Brown came in to bring some teacher cadets from Georgetown High, and I said, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he said, "Well, what are you doing here?" And so he had moved here obviously before me, but it's kind of cool to meet people that you knew earlier in life that had also moved to the coast. So Keith had moved down here to the coast, and he was working with Georgetown County School District. It was good to meet back up with him again. And Keith has always been into fitness and health and sports and athletics. And still to this day, he still takes great care of himself and is still physically fit. And he has he's a cancer survivor, and he's lived through that. And he just is a great friend to have if you need to get fit or have motivation to get fit and take good care of yourself. So I hope you're going to enjoy listening to Keith Brown talk about what he does every week and some of the things he enjoys in life and why he likes living on the coast. So sit back and enjoy episode 26 of A Slice of Pie podcast. Hi, Keith.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us on our Slice of Pie podcast this week.
Absolutely.
You and I have known each other a long time.
A long time. Let's don't say how many years exactly.
It's a long time. It's a great number of years, but it's been all good. So I remember you back when you were a super stud athlete at Eastside High School.
Well, I don't know about super stud, but I was an athlete at Eastside and had a good career there.
Well, what are some of the sports you played at Eastside?
Well, I played baseball up until the 10th or 11th grade. And then I said, well, I'm going to concentrate on what I think I might have an opportunity to play at the college level. And so I played football and basketball my senior year. And had a couple of offers in football and a few offers in basketball, and decided to go the basketball route.
Yeah, you went to Erskine, is that correct?
Went to Erskine, played basketball at Erskine 4 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And that's in due west South Carolina?
Yeah, due west of who knows what.
What?
Yeah. Right in the middle between Anderson, Greenville, and Greenwood.
Okay.
But,
that's for due west.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody will figure out that mystery one day.
Yeah.
But anyway, well, we're glad you joined us. I remember because my brother Mike used to play basketball against you. He's a little bit younger than you.
Yeah.
Joe Moore played with you.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, Joe comes down here to the beach every now and
then. Yeah,
we
usually have breakfast when he comes down.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, shout out Joe Moore if you're watching. So Joe, first of all, tell us about where you were born and where you were raised, where you live now, and who is in your family.
Okay. So I was born in Greenville County, and we lived there for several years. My dad got a job, then moved to the Charleston, Johns Island kind of area for a year or so, and then he went back to Bennettsville, South Carolina.
Oh gosh, my mama's from that area.
Yeah, and my sister was actually born in Bennettsville.
Is that right?
And then we came back to Greenville and built a house in right off East North Street, down in the Taylor's area, and grew up there from the second grade, January of the second grade, so the second semester, on through I graduated high school. So I went there and then went to Erskine, and met Angie at Erskine, and we got married in 1980. And we have 2 adult children and their spouses. So I have Jessica and her husband Bradley, and she has 2 little ones, Ryan, who's a 3rd grader, and then Blake, who's 18 months old.
Yeah, and I think Ryan has Miss Stephanie Johnson for.
She has Miss Stephanie Johnson, who was on your last podcast.
That's right. So if people haven't seen that, we'll go back and catch Miss Stephanie Johnson.
Yeah.
A great teacher.
A great teacher. And then we have Brandon and his wife, Heather. And everybody lives in Pawleys Island. One's 2.5 miles from us, one's 4 miles from us. So it's great to have all the family here. Now, Jessica is an assistant at All Saints School. And Bradley works for the school, for the dealership. Coastal Nissan Chevrolet. He's used car department. And then Brandon also works at Coastal Nissan Chevrolet. He is a general manager area in the managerial area on the Chevrolet GM side now. And his wife Heather is a travel agent for Walt Disney. Anybody want to take a Disney trip?
I love seeing their social media. They are just so funny.
They are funny.
The little things they share. And then Brandon's done a lot of great things on his social media with the dealership. But let's talk about the dealership for a little bit. We are talking about Coastal Chevrolet and Nissan, correct?
Yeah, and Cadillac.
And Cadillac, okay. So Angie, your wife, was originally an English, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so she and David English are brother and sister.
Right.
So when as Miss Betty got older, those Angie and David went in and started.
Yeah, when Jim passed.
Jim English.
In 1990, he's the one who started got the dealerships down here. When he passed in 90, it sort of put Angie and David in the spotlight of, okay, now you got to run it. Because Betty had worked there in and out of there, but those two were the ones who had to sort of take on the reins, and so they did that. And
a lot of times David was over on the Chevrolet Cadillac side, and Angie would do the Nissan side.
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
And then as your children have grown up, as all the cousins have grown up, then they've come into the dealership also.
Right.
So on David's side, you got Brooke.
And James.
And what does Brooke do?
She's the dealer principal. So when David finally says, all right, I'm not coming back up here anymore, Brooke will be the one that will be the dealer.
And she's been doing a great job.
And she's been doing a great job.
And then James
does used cars, generally on the Chevrolet side, but he and Bradley both can work either side.
Okay. And Bradley is just the son.
Correct.
Okay. And then your son, Brandon, he used to do the Nissan side, but now he's on the
Chevrolet, GM, Cadillac side. Right.
So it's certainly a family dealership.
Right.
And they just seem to all get along and do a great job.
They do. They've got along ever since they were little kids, and so they've grown up in the dealership and know it all about it. So they're working and have a great time together.
Such a great family. I bought most of my cars there just because, or I can just.
I have too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably a smart idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's a good idea. Yeah. So anyway, but you moved here, and then I came after you, because what year did you first come?
We came to Georgetown in 1983.
1983. Okay. So when you first came here, what was your job?
My first job here, I was hired over the phone by Sampson Hughes, as he was the principal at Rosemary Middle School. So my first job was here at Rosemary Middle School, and I taught PE and health, and I coached basketball there, but I coached football at Georgetown. And then the very next year, I was transferred to the Winyaw campus of Georgetown, and I taught physical education health there, and we started the weightlifting program.
So when you walked in our P. Sotheby's office today, you saw Hampton Pease, and Hampton was trying to remember if he knew you from Winyaw, if he knew you from Georgetown High, but he said he knew you from one of those high schools.
Oh yeah, he knew me from both. Yeah.
So you've met a lot of people being at all the schools. So,
yes, yeah.
So you started the wrestling program?
No, not the wrestling, the weightlifting program.
Weightlifting. Okay. So later, as we continue to talk, that's what I really invited you here for today, is to talk about your health and fitness routine, and that you are really dedicated to your weightlifting, to your working out. People know you, they can see things like you're very strong, very fit person. So I got out of school in 1984. That's when I got out of Clemson. But I didn't come down here till 91. And I was working at Kensington Elementary. I was working out in one of the trailers, and there was a knock on my door, and here comes a young guy in with a couple of teacher cadets, and it was you. And I said, I
appreciate you saying that young part. That was good. Yeah.
You were young. I was young, so you must be young. So I said, Keith Brown, what are you doing here because I remember you from Eastside High School. You said, well, what are you doing here? So I believe you were in charge of the teaching.
I was doing the teaching the teacher cadet class at Georgetown High School. And so as they would go out and do their internship, so to speak, I would go and observe them and get them situated.
Okay. So when is the first time you became an administrator at one of these schools?
That was 92, 93 school year. And I was at McDonald Elementary. And I was there for 5 years.
Were you the principal?
No, I was the assistant principal.
Okay, who was the principal?
That was Eve Moyer.
Oh, I remember.
Eve Hayes now, yeah.
And then what happened after that?
And then after that, I became the principal at what used to be Old Beck Middle School, and it changed to Georgetown Middle in 2001 when we moved into the new building.
That's right.
So I was principal there for 8, 9 years, something like that.
Well, so one year I went back to teaching, and I was teaching reading.
Reading?
So, yeah.
And you worked for us over there?
So you were my principal over
Right.
there, and I only got to work for you 1 year because then lo and behold, I was expecting another child. Yes, but that was quite an experience teaching at Beck Middle School, and I thought you did a great job running the school because it wasn't easy, and there were a lot of different situations you had to manage over there. But I thought you did a great job. There were a lot of great teachers.
Well, we had a great team of folks that came together, and we focused in on what we wanted to get accomplished, and I think we did a good job with it.
Yeah, and you're very good about staying in touch with that whole staff. You kind of keep everybody updated on Facebook. Now, and then from Beck, where did you go?
After that, we became Georgetown Middle School
in
2001.
Okay.
And then in 2004, I went to Waccamaw High School. I was the principal at Waccamaw High School for the next 4 years.
Yeah, you stayed there a long time. Are you sure it was just 4 years? 2000, what time?
2004 to 2008.
Okay.
In 2008, we had got a lot of great recognition because we had a great staff and a great bunch of students and parents and volunteers. So we certified as an international baccalaureate school.
That's right.
We were Palmetto Gold, and we were Palmetto Finest that year as well. And so it was a great year. Red carpet school. So.
I remember when you won Palmetto's Finest, because it's not like when you look at that. Gosh, Keith went out on top. He had won all the awards, and then I think David Hamill came in.
He did.
But because I think one of my children was there when you were there, because the student council or somebody had a T-shirt printed up.
Oh yeah.
And it was talking about great reasons to be a student at Waccamaw High School. And one of them was because we call our principal Bowflex or something.
Something like that, yeah.
They called you Bowflex because you did have, you were good at weightlifting and working out.
Yeah, and I had a Bowflex commercial. Actually, it was on one of the infomercials.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. And what happened was in, let's see, about 1999 or so, I was watching an episode of the Montel Williams show somehow during the summer, and he had a guy on named Bill Phillips. And Bill Phillips was big fitness guru, and he had written the book Body for Life.
Okay.
And so he had him on there, and Bill Phillips had all kind of competitions and stuff, and lots of prizes and money. But Montel, then after he had him on, he issued a challenge. He said, "Now I can't give you the millions of dollars that Bill Phillips has and the cars and all that kind of thing." He said, "But what I can do is offer you an opportunity to come to New York, be on the show, and we'll do some fun things up here." So he issued the challenge. He told us how to do it. And so I entered that challenge, and I was one of 7 winners.
Wow.
And so I got to go to New York, and they flew us up to New York and put us up in a nice place and fed us the whole 2 or 3 days that we were there, and got to appear on the Montel Williams show. And Richard Thomas was coming off as I was going on. John Boy, Walton.
Yeah.
So of course Angie loves him, so she got to meet him. But we had a good time with those folks. And then during the course of that show, he was interviewing the different folks on how they did it, and I told him that I did mine on my Bowflex. And so he was intrigued about that. And at the end of the show, Bill Phillips was to draw one of the names of the 7 people out of a bag, and that person was going to win another trip. And Bill Phillips said, "I can't just draw one. They've all done a great job." So all 7 of us won a trip, all expenses paid, to Jamaica. So we got to go to Jamaica. When I got back from Jamaica, I got a phone call, and a lady said, "I'm representing Bowflex. We saw your interview on Montel, and we want you to come to Atlanta and be a part of one of our infomercials." So that was fun. I got to go and do that. So that's where all the Bowflex thing came in.
Okay. any listeners out there that don't know what Bowflex is, will you describe what the Bowflex system is?
Well, the Bowflex uses power rods. There's a series of power rods, and then you have a cable that goes up and you hook to the power rods, depending on the amount of resistance that you want. And it's a bench. And if you look up online, you Google Bowflex, you'll see all kind of different things. Most of what they've been doing lately has been the treadmills and the Select Tech dumbbells and things like that. But there are some great machines still out there.
I remember. So it's basically exercise equipment,
right?
Used for resistance
right.
training, correct?
Correct.
And so I never understood the Bowflex. As you adjust it, like would it be comparable to lifting some kind of weight?
Well, it's resistance. It's resistance. So the power rods that come with it are 5, 10, 20, 30, 50 pounds of resistance. And so when you hook up, you can hook up 1 or 2 or 3 or a multitude of different arrangements to get to what you need on there. And you can do all kind of different exercises, anything from bench press to leg press to squats to curls and shoulders, and you can just do all kind of things on there.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So your first brush with fame was on the Montel Williams show, it sounds like. Mm-hmm. But then you also are a big fan of Andy Griffith, Andy Mayberry show.
Right.
Talk to us a little bit about that, how you became such a big fan.
Well, let's see. I've always been a fan growing up of the show, and then as I got into college, you had 3 channels, and one of them happened to have Andy Griffith on there a lot. So with that, I got to be a little bit more entrenched in it. Then in 2009, I think, one of my friends from Westminster, which was my very first teaching job, was my first few years there.
Westminster,
South Carolina. Yep.
Oh gosh.
And they said they're getting ready to have a festival called Mayberry Comes to Westminster, and they were looking for somebody to come down and judge the Aunt Bee and Opie lookalike contest. Okay. And I said, well, that would be fun. He was a fan of the show, and so he said, well, dress up like some kind of a character. I went, I don't know what to do with that. So I started looking around, watching some of the episodes, and I thought, I got to find somebody with a mustache because I don't want to shave for this event. So I found Colonel Harvey, who was the old Indian elixir salesperson, and got Aunt Bee all tiddly while she was on there, thinking that she was getting something that was going to make her feel good, which it did in some ways, I guess.
That's funny.
But I became Colonel Harvey in 2008, 2009, I think it was, and I've been doing that ever since. And since then, I've traveled to Indiana, to Alabama, several places in North Carolina, and up here as Colonel Harvey several times a year, and we get paid and room and board and things like that to come along with it. So it's fun.
Was that filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina? Where was that show filmed?
No, the show was filmed in California.
Oh,
on the set of the Desilu Studios.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it appears to have been filmed in the country. Yeah,
now there's some country scenes out there, but they used some of the surrounding areas in there.
I have no idea why I thought that show took place in North Carolina somewhere.
Well, because Mount Airy.
Oh, Mount Airy
is his hometown.
Okay.
Andy's hometown.
That is in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm. But and that's where the big festival is. The last full weekend of September every year is Mayberry Days.
In Mount Airy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if people want to go up there and take part of that.
It's just, but if you do it, you need to get reservations early, because I think at the parade last year, it's like 48,000 people at the parade.
Is anybody from that original cast still alive?
There are a few, more of the younger ones, but there are a few that are still. Ron Howard has not been, and now his brother Clint, who played little Leon, he's been several times. He's a jolly fellow to hang around with. Margaret Carey is 90, I want to say 3 or 4 or 5 years. Margaret played a couple of episodes where she was the wife of the guy, and the Christmas episode. And she was also in another one where they were being evicted from their house by Ben Weaver. But she was the third. But now Margaret's claim to fame not only is that, but she was the original live model as Tinkerbell. Oh. So if you look her up on Google or somewhere, you'll see that she is Tinkerbell.
So say her name one more time.
Margaret Carey. Kerry.
Kerry. Mm-hmm. Wow, I'd love for somebody to compare. And then Rod,
the Dillards, the old mountain group that came down and played the music. Rodney's still alive and around, and Maggie Peterson, who was Charlene, just passed away a year or so ago, and 2 or maybe 3 years ago, Thelma Lou, who moved to Mount Airy to live, and she just passed away 2 or 3 years ago.
Is there a Facebook page, like a fan page for that?
Oh, there's Lots of them. Yeah.
Is there one in particular that's better than another that we could refer people to?
No, I mean, if you go in there and look for Facebook groups, Mayberry After Midnight, the Andy Griffith Show, there's just so many good ones. And there's some sites that I help run. The imayberrycommunity.com. I help run that site.
That's great. Well, it was just a good, wholesome, happy,
Oh
fun
yeah.
show.
Oh yeah.
You don't really have shows like that anymore.
Right.
Okay, so we've talked about you went to Eastside High School, and then you went to Erskine, and then you started in your education career.
Right.
And that now at this point we were talking about you've made it to Waccamaw, and the school had won a lot of awards. And then you left. And what year did you?
I retired from there in 2008, and didn't know. I was hoping to be able to do some consulting and some things like that. Didn't really have a plan. And a friend of mine that had a private school in Charleston wanted somebody, so he asked me if I'd come down there and help them get accredited. They had a young private Christian school, but had not had a headmaster there long enough to be able to do the accreditation process. So I went down and we did the accreditation. So we did the ASCSI, which is the Association of Christian Schools International. We did that accreditation along with the SCISA, which is independent schools, and the SACs. So we did all three of those at the same time and got them accredited.
I think that's impressive. That's South.
Yeah, that's good. Southern Association of Colleges and Schools at that time, and now I think it's changed to something a little bit different now. But yeah, but we got all three in the same year, and the school grew it with other numbers of students, and it became a really good place. And we actually the last year I was there, we were named a Palmetto School of Honor, which is comparable to the Palmetto's finest in the public school.
So is that school still in existence? What's the name of it?
Cathedral Academy.
Is it in Charleston?
North Charleston.
A lot of schools in Charleston area. Then you came back up to Georgetown.
And came back up, and we decided it was time to come back and be home. Angie was still here, and we were going back and forth on the weekend, and that just got to be taxing on everybody. So I came back up here, and Dr. Dozier said, we're getting ready to start a technology department where we're going to be getting computers in the hands of teachers and students. And he said, I know you have done a lot of stuff with that. In fact, when I was at Georgetown Middle and when I was at Waccamaw High School, I was also the webmaster as well as the principal. So he offered to let me come up and do that, and I loved it and worked with some great folks over the years in that, and we were able to go out and teach teachers how to use the computers and make it good for their kids and not just something to play on, but some good lessons integrating their different subjects. And so I did that for about 10 years or so.
Do you do any internet consulting now? You should, because you know a lot about computers.
I don't necessarily do internet consulting. I do run a website called Key Leaders in South Carolina for physical education and health. And that's an independent group that works throughout the Association of Health and PE and Recreation and Dance. So I run that site for them, but I don't consult so much as that with that part. I do meet with some different folks across the state with different things that they need.
You're very comfortable with the computer. I mean, you know how to make PowerPoints. Do they even do PowerPoints anymore? You're very good.
I don't know if a lot of people do. Some people still do them, but I do most of the Google stuff now.
Google Slides, yeah. And I think being a teacher, you have to stay up with technology, and so I feel so comfortable using the Google Docs and the Google Slides and the sheets, and which my children were using before me. I was just sticking on Word. I didn't want to leave Word and Microsoft, but Google's just so easy, and it doesn't cost anything.
Right.
I mean, people don't realize that you don't have to have Word on your computer to do make a document, a Word document.
Yeah, they limit the amount of storage space that you have now, and of course you can buy more, but there's plenty of storage space on there in what they allow you to have to be able to do day to day.
It's amazing. It really, really is amazing. But I think if I had a question, I would feel comfortable calling you if it's a software.
Yeah, some folks in the school still do, even though I haven't done that in 2 years.
I would give you $20 to help me solve my problem. I didn't know you right, $20, right? So anyway, well, that's good to know. But what I really wanted to talk to you about is your health journey. I know you've done weightlifting, but you had a little bump in the road that happened around 2018.
Right.
So you were diagnosed with cancer. So you want to tell us
Right.
a little bit about that?
2018, and of course, all my life had been working out and lifting, and I actually competed deadlift and bench and squat and things like that for years. Did not do that so much after I got into administration as I did when I was still teaching and coaching. But 2018, I was in the yard working and doing all kind of, just cutting grass and trimming and all that kind of stuff. Just was really tired. The next day we were going to leave to go on vacation, and I just did not feel like driving. I usually drive, and I couldn't eat. I didn't feel like eating, and so we got to our place in North Carolina where we're going up in the mountains, and that I noticed that there was when I got that night to take a shower, there was my right leg had red splotches all up almost to my knee, like a starburst of blood vessels had gone off in there. So we went to the hospital. I thought maybe it was a clot. Ended up staying being on vacation and being in the hospital for several days. They took one of my lymph nodes out of my groin area, and all that rolled around back to when we got back into Pawleys Island. And then after a few days, decided we had to go to MUSC because I was not getting any better. And was there the end of July, and then on August 7th, they finally decided, or they finally had figured out what it was, and it was a T-cell lymphoma. So August 7th, and then so they said, we'll give you a few days to think about what you want to do. I said, I don't want to be thinking about it for 2 or 3 days. Tell me when you can start treatment. And they said, well, we won't do it tomorrow because we got to get stuff together. I said, okay, well, let's do it the next day. So August 9th, I started, and I had so much water weight on me, and just the cancer was, I weighed 302 pounds.
How much do you weigh right now?
237.
And you weigh 302?
302. When they weighed me before, I had so much fluid and stuff on me from the cancer.
Okay, so when you hear the word cancer, what was your initial reaction?
Well, you never think it's going to happen to you. And I'm thinking, I'm healthy. I've been, I never even used my deductible on my insurance all the years that I've been until, of course, I got to use it then. But it just sort of floored you. But at the same time, you got to think, I've got to get a hold of this right now. I got things to do, places to be, and people to do.
How'd she feel?
She was, of course, devastated as I was, but at the same time, what a trooper. She was just the right hand and stood by me and never left the hospital when I was in the hospital. She stayed right there, and of course, all my children were back and forth to see me as well.
Shout out Angie Brown. Way to go.
She was a rock. She was a rock.
So the diagnosis or the prognosis, did they say you have so many months to live? You might live? No,
they said it was in a later stage than they had hoped, but with it being a blood disease, you don't really have a stage 1, stage 2 like you would seeing a size of a tumor grow, because it was everywhere. And so they put me on a protocol to do chemo. And so I did chemo. I did 9 initial treatments every 2.5 or to 3 weeks. And then at the end of that year, they said the best way to help fight it and prevent it from doing a reoccurrence is to do a stem cell.
Yes.
And so December 17th and 18th.
We're still in 2018.
We're still in 2018. Okay. December 17th, they said, they came down, or I came down, and they put me on a machine that extracted my blood out, spun it, and kept off the stem cells.
Stem cells, right?
Yep. And then they cleaned it and froze it. And they said to me that it's going to take about 4 days, at least 4 days, maybe 5, but for the most part, it's going to be about 4 days. And I said, listen to me. You turn that machine on high, and I'm going to grunt because I've got things to do and places to be. And it's my wife's birthday tomorrow, and I need to go. We're going to go celebrate, and Christmas is coming up. So let's do that. And they laughed it off, Well, 2 days, I was there that's the end of the second day, they called me and said, hey, we got everything we need.
Wait a minute. I thought, because my sister has gone through lymphoma, I thought they extracted the healthy stem cells, and then they gave you high doses of chemo. Is that what they did?
Well, that was part 1. The part 2 was the day after Christmas. I came back and checked in, and I got really, really high doses of chemo from the 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. I got the rest on the 1st, and then on January 2, they put all my stem cells back in.
Yeah, but you have to stay in the hospital because those high doses of chemo kind of obliterate your immune system, right? So you can't be around germs.
Right. And then I had to live in Charleston for a month after that. And we stayed at the Hope Lodge. Stayed at the hotel till the Hope Lodge came available, and then we moved over to the Hope Lodge, and I walked over every day and got blood testing.
What's the Hope Lodge?
It's a American Cancer Society funded place where people who are traveling from out of town and have a place to stay and live while they're going through treatments and recovery.
Do they have to pay to stay
No.
there? Kind of like a Ramadan house for adults.
Right. That's exactly right.
Okay, cool. So they reinsert your healthy stem cells.
Right.
On what day? January what?
January 2.
And how long does it take for them to start growing back?
Well, they start pretty quick, but at the same time, now I have a brand new immune system. And so I had to start back over with all the immunizations that young kids get. 3 months, 6 months, the mumps, measles, all the things that the kids had to get when they were growing up. I had to start over like I was a little kid and get all those. Yeah. And I actually, up until December 26th, pretty much all of my hair stayed in. But then after those 6 or 7 doses, by New Year's Day, it was gone. All of it.
Like super mega doses, right?
Yeah. Super mega doses.
Yeah. And so, but that didn't bother you, though.
Well, I did not have a lot of side effects other than the hair falling out. I was tired, so sometimes the oxygen, I needed a little bit of extra oxygen. But for the most part, every day I went down to the little fitness area and worked on the treadmill or the exercise bike or something every day while I was there.
You were still working out while you were receiving your That's determination.
Yeah.
Did you feel poorly while you were working out?
I did not feel poorly when I was working out. Generally after the chemo, that day or that evening, it was sort of hard to build your energy, but the next day I was okay to do.
Okay, so 2018, now we've gone into 2019, you got your stem cells back.
Right.
And how long did you stay at any?
I stayed there for a month.
A month.
Okay. At the Hope Lodge. And they said, we'll probably be about the 30th of the month before we can let you go. And so, we had packed up for enough. And the 24th of January that same month, they said, your immune system is reacting very well. And so we're going to let you go home. And so we got to go home about 6 days earlier than they thought. And so I stayed out of it as far as away from people and so forth. Anybody that had a sniffle, they didn't come by. But we had a lot of people, a lot of visitors come by. A lot of people from my high school days reached out. My college buddies, there's about 14 of them that we keep up with all the time and have been getting together every summer since 1979. I think we've missed about 5 years of not getting together. They came so many different times and either sat with me so Angie could go off or go home and get refreshed or something. They would come and stay, or they come to the house.
Friends.
I'm telling you, they have just been absolutely incredible.
Wear masks when they came to see you?
If they felt like they were not doing it, if I went out in public, like to the store or rode somewhere, we went out to eat somewhere, we would try to go early, or we'd go to a movie. We'd go to the 2 o'clock show where there's not going to be a lot of people, and I would wear a mask. Yeah. And I'd wipe down everything, all the seats. I became fanatical about wiping down.
So you were ready when COVID came. You knew what to do.
Oh yeah, I already had the mask and
everything.
All the wipe downs. Yeah.
So 2018, you're diagnosed. You got treated and stayed in the hospital beginning of 2019, and then so you got better. You weren't working at all that year.
No, and let's see. I think it was around September, October or so when they had homecoming at Waccamaw High School, and Adam George, principal at the time, asked me if I would come. If I was able to be the lead the parade, be the marshal of the parade. And so I said, love to. And so I was able to do that. My son drove me, and I was able to do a marshal. And while I was there, Dr. Dozier was there, and I said, listen, I am bored at the house, and I can't go in. But can I do some stuff from home or from the office? And he said, absolutely, let's get you going. So
That's great.
that was something good. And I had a hat. I didn't have any hair,
right.
but I had a hat from all four of the attendance areas.
Uh-huh.
So I would be online, and they would put me up on their smart board,
Right.
and I would teach some kind of a lesson to the kids for the different teachers that were there. And if I was teaching over at the Rosemary Middle School, I had on an Andrews hat. Right. I was at Carver's Bay, I had a Carver's Bay hat. Walk around to Georgetown hat. And just had to carry them with me when I went. But all the schools were great about it. And walking around intermediate, especially, they had a mustache Monday kind of a thing, and everybody in the school wore a mustache that day, and a lot of people over there.
That had to make you feel good.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still have those pictures. Great.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay away from everybody while you were recovering?
I think every time that I went down to the doctor, he said after he would say, "Do you have any questions?" I said, "Yeah," and he said, "It's the same question you ask me every time." I said, "Yeah." He said, "No, you can't go back to work yet. No, you can't back to work yet." But in March, he said, "Yeah, you can go back to work,
So
but
that was
just
March
don't."
Of 2020.
March of 29. I'll say March of 2019.
No, March. I thought you just got out of the hospital.
January.
Yeah.
In February, March, I could go back to the office, but I couldn't go to the schools.
Right.
And so I would go to the office and just be in the office by myself because Mark and Doug and Jenny were out in the schools.
Right.
Or if it came to it, I could just be from home.
Okay. So then you had a pretty healthy year for 2019?
Pretty good for 19.
Okay. And then 2020, did you go back to the school district office? Were you were there then? Right?
Yep.
Okay. And then all of a sudden we start hearing about COVID at the beginning of the year, and that kind of shuts everything down around March, I think.
Right.
Shut down.
Right.
March. And we had to all put the money.
Yeah.
I go home. But you know what? Technology played such a great role during that whole time because we could teach the children from our desks at school. Well, it wasn't ideal, but
it was a great solution to it was the e-learning.
Yeah, e-learning.
And we were able to.
Were you doing a lot with the e-learning?
I was doing a lot with that. In fact, Mark Frechette and I were responsible for the Georgetown County School District e-learning, all of the stuff that we had to do from that.
Did that seem overwhelming at first?
No, in fact, it was. We were excited about being able to have that opportunity to get back with the kids in some kind of a way. So we were teaching teachers how to do that and how to use Google and create an assignment, send them an assignment, or even individualize an assignment for somebody and send it to them, and how to operate their web pages at the time to make it good.
As teachers, we all learned so much during that time, and I'm using some of those skills now, Keith, because as I do this podcast, sometimes when I interview people, I have to do it remotely. They're in one location and I'm in another location.
Right.
And I learned to do that during COVID.
Yeah.
Because you taught us how to do that, and you taught us how to record the session. So I'm still using that skill set. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that so much. Okay. So are you still working for the school district?
I'm fully retired technically, but I still do several projects for the schools through this. So I do the First Tee program, and that runs through all the elementary schools. But we take the fourth graders to the actual golf course, and we were able to get back to doing that this past year, or this past fall. So I do the First Tee program. We wrote several grants, and we had a big grant that we got through the Healthier Alliance, $221,000 that went to all our PE teachers, and they divided that by the number of students that they have. And then the Fitnessgram is a program that we have to do state mandated to test our young people, and we test them in 2nd, 5th, 8th, and then the PE1, whether it's 9th or 10th. And they do it's a cardio test, push-ups, it's sit-ups, it's sort of flexibility. So they do those 5 or 6 different things, and they have to record a before and an after, and then those go back to DHEC, the State Department. They run a report off of that. So I do all those, and now I teach CPR. I'm the liaison for the PE teachers, so same thing coming back and forth, and I'll run their website and their Google page. And if there's a need to teach CPR, I go back and teach CPR.
You stay busy.
Yes,
I think you like staying busy.
It is. I love to stay busy with it. Yeah.
Okay, I really invited you on here, Keith, because it's January 2024, and we want to talk about health and wellness and fitness, and I know that's always been a big part of your life, right? How long did you how long ago did you make that decision? I just want to work out every day. I want to be healthy. You heard that?
When I was in college, we were trying to. I was getting into working out a little bit with a friend of mine in Greenville, and then when I went back to Erskine really didn't have a facility to do that. So we went over to one of the local high schools, and several my roommate and several other friends started going over there to work out. And after that, when I got out and went to Westminster as my first teaching job, I was able to work out in the weight room they had the second semester.
Were you at Westminster High School?
Or Westminster High School.
Okay.
Actually, Westminster High School Middle School.
Uh-huh.
And at that time, they had fifth graders
Mm-hmm.
on that campus, and then the intermediate campus was off somewhere else.
Wow.
So anyway, I was able to do that, and then we had a teacher that left, and they moved me into the PE department because I was teaching science and biology my first year there.
Uh-huh. So okay, so then you and Angie got married, and when did y'all move to Paulus?
Well, we moved to Georgetown in '83.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were working out when you came here. Where did you work out first when you came here?
The Winyah Fitness Center downtown on Front Street.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Is
then
that still
I don't think it's not there. I think he still has some stuff that he does somewhere, but I'm not sure exactly where it is. But they were good with us, and we did that. And then of course I had the high school that I kept building that weight room up
at Georgetown High.
Okay. And we had so many of those young people that did really well when we went to competitions, and a lot of them still work out, lift, even back from the 83, 84, 85 season. They still say, yeah, I'm still working out, coach.
Okay, so you were working out at the Georgetown High gym.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then when you came so after Georgetown High, did you go to Beck then? Where'd you go?
After Georgetown High, I went to McDonald Elementary, and that's when I was going back and forth to the fitness center at Winyah Fitness. Okay. And then at Beck Middle and Georgetown Middle, I would still go back over to the high school from time to time, but mostly at the Winyah Fitness Center. And then that's when I got into the Body for Life, all that kind of stuff, and got the call.
Is that a book, Body for Life?
Yes.
So you can
Body for Life, Bill Phillips.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Okay. So then when you were at Waccamaw High, where were you working
out? Sometimes at the weight room there, okay. and a lot of times at my Bowflex at home.
Still the Bowflex.
Yeah, still Bowflex.
Very famous. Yeah. And recently Waccamaw High installed a new weight room.
Yeah, all four of the high schools have a new facility for their weight rooms, and they're all very nice. Yeah.
So the student athletes should definitely take advantage of that.
Definitely take advantage of it.
There really needs to be a lot more education about the importance of weightlifting and resistance training. Because as a female, I did a little bit of that at Eastside High with girls basketball, but women have always been so worried that they're going to look like a bodybuilder. Yeah. But that's not really the truth.
No, if they don't have the testosterone that the men have, and it's very, very nice of it to see somebody that works out and is very shapely and very feminine. Right. And the guys, they want to bulk up a little bit, and some of them, when they get older, they don't care so much about lifting heavy as we do about just staying in shape and doing a lot more repetitions. So that balanced with a good diet that you have, and I know that Stephanie Johnson was talking about the macros, and I don't necessarily have done so much with the macros. I do watch the carbs and the sugars and the different things that are there. I try to eat right, but I do a lot of fasting. My personal self, I'll do a 16 to 8. I'll do the intermittent fasting. I'll do 16 and 8.
So what does that mean?
So 16 hours, I will have nothing. Okay. And then during the 8-hour period, I will eat.
When does your 8-hour period start?
It starts about 8 o'clock at night. That's when I'll start my fasting, and then I'll go till 2 o'clock in the afternoon the next day before I'll eat anything.
So you'll eat from 2 to 8?
And from 2 to 8.
That's just 6 hours.
Yeah, 6 to 7 hours, somewhere in there.
Wow, that's not much. So, but you're drinking water.
Yeah, drinking water, and water is very important to all that as well, and eating the right things and putting the right things in. Are you going to have a donut every once in a while? Yeah, somebody's going to have a donut every once in a while. And, it's just you do things in moderation, and you don't overdo it when you go out to eat. You try to get healthier things when you're out there, and just take care of yourself. Especially the older you get, like me, it could climb on you pretty quick if you don't let it.
Do you drink coffee?
I do decaf only.
Decaf. Do you drink any alcohol?
I've never had a drop of alcohol in my life.
Okay, so that's good.
Yeah.
It's interesting how healthy you've been your whole life, and you still somehow managed to get some cancer coming into your body. Yeah. I wish you could just.
Yeah, because I've never smoked ever. I never had a drop of alcohol. Never did any drugs of any sort, and yet, it found a way.
But it probably helped you.
Mm-hmm. You grow through your journey, and you're blessed that the Lord has brought you through the journey, and And I told him a couple of times, in my prayers, I said, listen, if this is going to be the end, go ahead and take me on because I'm ready. But if not, when I wake up in the morning, give me a story to tell.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
and I've been able to go and speak at several different places to do that. But God brought us through, and we're grateful for it.
Do you have any? Okay, let's just talk about for just a second. So where do you work out now every day?
Either on the Bowflex upstairs, or at the Heritage has a fitness center.
So you and Angie live in Heritage Plantation neighborhood in
Right.
Island,
Right.
So they have a gorgeous clubhouse and pool there, right? Fitness center there.
Right.
So you go there to work out sometimes.
Right.
Do you have any buddies you ever work out with, or is it mostly by yourself?
Mostly by myself because just different schedules and times of the day that I can go and do that now. And I sort of got my routine down, and I know what I'm going to be doing and how long it's going to take me to do it. And I don't spend a lot of time socializing back and forth when I'm at the gym with different people. I can do 45 minutes or so, and then if I keep it intense and move it along, I don't take 2 and 3 hours to get it done. But again, my goals are different than they would have been 20 years ago when I was lifting in competitions.
Are you doing cardio or weightlifting?
I'm doing both.
Okay, so have you worked out yet today?
A little bit this morning.
So were you doing cardio or weightlifting?
I was doing. This morning I was doing bicep, tricep, shoulders, and when I get back home I'll do abs and legs, and then I won't do any tomorrow. I'll do cardio tomorrow, and then I'll go back and lift again the next day.
Wow, so all today you're going to get the whole body. You're going to get your arms and your legs.
Right.
And abs.
Right.
Okay. I hear some
arm, leg, chest. I'll do all of that today, and then tomorrow I'll concentrate on cardio. Try to get 8 to 10,000 steps. My knees are not what they used to be, so I can ride my bike, and I can ride that a long way and do that. Or in the summertime I'll swim a good bit, and but I can walk. Can't do a whole lot of jogging with bad knees anymore.
Swimming's a great exercise. Yeah. It's just the perfect. The only thing I don't like about it as a girl, I don't like getting my hair wet and having my face in the water, but I swam on swim team, right?
Right.
In Greenville, there were 7 grade swim teams, so I did swim on swim team growing up. And do love swimming. Yeah. And my husband Pat, he likes to swim and bike and walk. He does all of those things. But you do weightlifting one day and then.
Yeah, I do 3 days. I try to do at least 3 days a week of strength training, and then 3 days a week of cardio, and then 1 day a week I usually don't do anything other than just walk around and try to get 3,000 to 5,000 steps a day, on that day, and that might be the Bill Phillips day. He calls that a free day, so it might be that day that I decide to eat a couple of 3 desserts more than I would normally, or something like that. But I don't go overboard.
Yeah. So do you have any goals for the 2024? Anything you want to try to do differently?
Well, from my 2022 cancer checkup, I weighed 247, and this year I weigh 237. So next year I want to be 227, and I want to try to shape up a little bit more.
I don't know where you lose it. You look so fit and trim right now. I don't know where you lose it. But once you started your cancer treatment, I want to get back. You lost all that water weight that came off of you real quick.
I had to actually have it extracted several times. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. What are some of the favorite things you like to do in Pawleys Island? What's some of the benefits of living in Pawleys Island, do you think? Well,
I love being close to the beach. I don't get over there as much as I would like to, but it's just a lower. It's not stressful to be here. For me, I don't think it's stressful, but it's a slower. What do they call it? Arrogantly shabby, and slower paced kind of a thing. But Angie is able to get back and forth to her work very quickly, and have both my children here and the grandchildren are here. And I told my daughter one time that if I'd have known that having the grandchildren was going to be this great, that I'd have had them before I had her. And she, what are you saying? No. So, but
love your grandchildren.
Oh my gosh.
So tell me your names and ages of your grandchildren.
Ryan is 9, and Blake is 18 months.
Ryan's a boy.
Ryan's a girl.
Ryan's a girl. Okay, and she's how old?
She's 9.
9, and she's in 3rd grade, and then Blake is
18 months.
18 months. Okay. But and then those are Jessica's children.
Correct.
Is Brandon going to have any grandchildren?
He says he is. I'm waiting.
We'll see. Yet to be seen. Okay. Well, gosh, is there anything else you'd like to tell anybody or share or say?
Well, it's just you pick a goal, and it's not about perfection. It's not about, it's about staying with something. It's about progress, not perfection. So, everybody's not going to have the same results that everybody else has, male, females, older, younger, but just get with the program, stay with it. Ask somebody to help you with something else every once in a while. Change up your routines, change up, give up sugar, give up caffeine, give up some things that might be, give up alcohol. I know people who've given up alcohol and lost all kind of weight.
Yeah, so I've heard a lot of people talking about dry January right now. So,
Right.
Just even if you think you can't do it all year, maybe you can try it for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. And just do things in moderation, in your meals in moderation. When Angie and I go out to eat, we usually split a meal because there's just so much on that plate.
Well, yeah, now I can split a meal because you're not as hungry as you
Yeah.
be, I guess.
That's right.
But
And eat several meals during the day. If you're not doing intermittent fasting like I'm doing, but like every 2.5 hours, try to eat something that's healthy for you. Get your good protein, get your, just like Stephanie was talking about with her macros.
Yeah, Stephanie's Johnson has just done a great job.
Yeah.
I'm just so thrilled with seeing her progress, and I know she's going to keep going. Do you keep up with your calories or anything like that?
I used to do that, but now I just make sure I'm eating in moderation, and I get my water, and I don't try to overindulge in things that I know are not,
Do you weigh yourself very often?
I don't.
You don't weigh yourself. I weigh myself every day. I don't know.
Yeah.
Of course I have, but I don't know that it does any good. I just do that just to know where I am. Well, good. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Do you think one time I could come visit you and watch you work out a little
Certainly.
bit? Okay.
Certainly. And if you want to get a program going, I'll get you started on one.
I might need your help with that. Thank you so much. And gosh, and before we started filming here, we had a lot of great memories to share from Eastside High School. Gosh.
Yeah, I'm still involved with Eastside. Still involved with the Booster Club there, and the Booster Club with a couple of schools around here.
What was that great reunion they just had?
We called it Eagle Legacy, and we had different eras or different decades that came and were represented. They took us out on the football field. They had a lot of giveaway prizes, and it was just a good tailgating kind of reunion. We only had about 240 or so. But the athletic director up there wants to do it again, and the principal wants to do it again. They want to make it bigger, and they're going to help push it. So we'll see about this coming year.
So for our listeners, Eastside High School is located in Greenville, South Carolina, and I went there, and my brother went there, and he was there, and I had the best teachers.
I had some great teachers.
Best teachers.
Yeah, they were great teachers.
English and math and science. And, I remember Miss Braswell. I remember Dr. Who did I say? Who was my math teacher?
I had Ruth Jackson.
Miss Austell, Kathy Austell.
Cat Austell.
She was so good. Yeah.
And Miss Barker was English.
Miss Barker, yeah. And Mr. Porter was physical science.
Yep. Hobie Porter.
And then we had a lot of good history teachers.
Miss Potts.
Miss Potts, yeah, that's what I was trying to think of.
I'm trying to remember the art lady's name, and I can't all of a sudden. But it's only been a couple of years since we've been there, right?
Just great. And then, of course, we have a couple of Eastside people that live down here, like Ellen Garino that I was teaching with. Ellen, she was Ellen West, and she went to Eastside, and then I was roommates for a long time with Amy Newman, who used to be Amy Jerome, and then another girl went to class with me, Militia. She's Militia Durkee now, but she was Militia. Just so many people.
Christine Dibbs is she's a real estate agent. I forget which. She's just moved down here, so she was a couple 3 years behind me. But she just moved down here, so there's some folks around from the east side.
A lot of great east side folks. I remember Cheryl Bailey, who's Cheryl Paulson now, and I think they come vacation down here some.
Okay.
And Angel
used to be Angel Theodore. And Drew. Yeah, she married Walt Tollison.
Walt Tollison, that's right. So yeah, all those great people. We just really had a great time.
Yeah, it was a good experience.
Yeah,
and all the coaches that were there had our great coaches, and still keep up with the head soccer coach from there from years ago, Coach Rattle Hoover, and Bill Stedman was my baseball coach, and Harvey Tankersley was my basketball coach, and John Carlisle was my head football coach, and so I still keep up with all those guys and talk to them about it. Every 2 weeks I talk to them.
Yeah, I think Linda Goyak was my basketball coach. I played for her. She got me started as a ninth grader, and I love playing basketball. And then there was a lady that was a student teacher with her that used to live down here, but she recently passed away. But anyway, she was one of my student teachers when I was at Eastside High School. Just so many great memories from there. So I'm so glad we got to see each other again down here
Yeah.
in Georgetown County.
Yeah, glad we got to do
back
that.
on Paulie's Island.
Absolutely.
But anyway, I thank you for joining our show.
Thank you.
And I hope to catch up with you again.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
I hope you enjoyed listening to Keith and all the great things he's done for our community. He's been a principal at so many different schools, and he's done such great IT work with the school district and is still doing some work with the school district, still taking good care of himself. He and Angie have a great life together here in Paulie's Island. They love spending time with their grandchildren. So he's just a great guy. If you know Keith, you love him. He and Angie are great people. And I was just so delighted that he would sit down and chat with us about what his life has been like and what he's so grateful for and why he likes living here on the coast. Next week, we'll have another great guest, so we hope you will join us again. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Right outside of this one church town, there's a gold dirt road to a whole lot of nothing. Got a deed to the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.